After graduating Notre Dame, I actually went to law school for 1 year. At Notre Dame, thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and thankfully studied literature, knowing that that was a good background for law, and came out here to Los Angeles and found that I loved the law, but I just didn't love what it meant to be an attorney. It was a big life lesson for me, the idea of not what do you want to be, but what do you like to do. And thankfully, I fell back on the reading, writing skills that I just loved learning for 4 years at Notre Dame, and found myself here in LA and said, well, the industry of the city is entertainment. And I loved film and television. And I went out there with my resume with really nothing more than my arts and letters degree at Notre Dame, and with a lot of persistence and my double-breasted black suit left over from law school, I went door to door with my resume, and after 1 week got myself a job as a production assistant on a film. And I can look back and I've gotten every job since from that job, and now have found my way into being a writer-producer for television. I spent the first couple of years of my career understanding what the business was about. So I worked in film production, I worked for a development company, I worked for a major studio, all as an assistant, just to educate myself. It was kind of my version of film school. And along the way, I discovered that writing is a viable career option, and found myself with an opportunity to be the researcher on a show called ER in the second year of the show. I did this for 2 years on the show, and again, being surrounded by amazing writers. But at some point I said to myself, you know, they said I'm never guaranteed to write for the show, but I want to know, can I write it? So I did what you're not really supposed to do in Hollywood, which is I wrote my own spec script, a sample ER. I gave it to one of the writers on the show. She was my mentor at the time. And she initially gave me this look like, oh, you stupid girl, now I have to be mean to you. Yeah, now I have to redline your script. You did what you're not supposed to do. And she came back to me 3 days later with a smile on her face, and she goes, you know what, this would make a great Christmas episode. And they made my spec, which really doesn't happen. And it was a really good lesson for me of there are rules, but then it's not that life is about breaking the rules, but you just follow your passion. And that's what I did. I wanted to know that I could write the show. I was passionate about writing. I wrote a story that I was passionate about. It ended up getting made. The executive producer at the time said, well, I want to see if that was a fluke or not, so I'm going to give you a second script to write. I wrote a second script. They brought me on staff, and it was my first writing job. And I worked on the show for 5 years. From there, I went on to a show called The District. I worked on a show called Crossing Jordan. Now I've spent the last few years on Army Wives. I've done medical, I've done crime, now I'm doing military. They just all continue to satisfy my curiosity. That's part of what I love about being a writer.